Hi, I'm Ems, aka on Zack and Wings. So Artify sent me a set of dry brushes. Let's have a look at the set then. So this comes with 5 brushes in varying sizes. This also comes with a brush soap and a sponge, similar to the Artis Opus one. The brushes are made with goat's hair and are very springy. So this kit retails for around about £30, and I'll put the link in the description below where you can get it from. The Artis Opus sets are usually around about £70, so this is about half the price. Although there are other kits out there which retail cheaper, such as the AK Interactive one, it doesn't come with as varied brushes, and it doesn't come with the sponge or the soap. So like I said, I think the sponge is a nice touch and the soap, and I'm excited to try this out because I normally just use makeup brushes, so it's a nice step up for me to try these out. I'm going to be testing these brushes out on this Lord Celestant from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I primed the model all in black. I moistened the sponge, and the reason you do this is you want your dry brushes to be a little bit moist. I'm grabbing the size 11 brush here, so the second to largest, and dunking it into the sponge. So get it moist and then wipe away the excess so there's still some water in the brush. You can test this on the back of your hand, so you want this to be damp but you don't want any water to be running off it. I'm starting off with one of my absolute favourite paints to use, which is Darkstar Royal Gold. I'll put the link in the description below where you can get some Darkstar paints from. Pop some of this onto my dry palette here, and then I'm going to load this paint up onto my brush after I've dampened it. The reason we moisten the brush is the paint goes on smoother, so it's not as chalky. It also stops the paint from building up in the bristles as easily. So you want to wipe away the excess either on a piece of paper, or you can use a paper towel, but make sure the paper towel is flat. You don't want to be wiping it off, you want to be just dabbing it off the brush. Alternatively, you could make a palette like this, so you can 3D print one or make some out of some leftover pieces. Or you could just use a piece of MDMF wood that has texture on it. I really like this palette I made because you can test out what the paint will look like before you even put it onto the model. If this palette starts to get dusty, just wipe it away with a duster, or you can actually blow it away with an airbrush or a hairdryer so there's no dirt or residue from dust. Now that that waffles out of the way, let's actually start using the brushes. So I've dampened it, I've loaded the brush up with the paint, and then I'm wiping away the excess on the texture palette. So this is a great model to be using a dry brush on because there's a lot of really nice textures to bring out and details. The brushes are really smooth and springy. The brush is staying in shape as I put the paint on the model. Paint went onto the model really smooth, and I love that gold anyway, so it really popped. And after that I added a wash. I'm just using a cheap synthetic brush for this rather than the dry brushes. I'm using Victorian Pallor as the wash, a reddish brown flesh tone, like a Reikland flesh shade, looks great over gold. Whilst that is drying, I'm going to be demonstrating how to clean your dry brushes. So after you finish your painting session, you want to soak your brushes in some water. And then what you do is lather the brush into the soap. Then you can dip it back into the water and back and forth until you think it's clean enough. Then you want to wipe away the excess onto a paper towel. And then once you're happy with how clean it is, you can shape it with your hand, so just shaping it back into a circle. If you have some quite stubborn stains left in the brush, lather it up with the soap and then leave the soap in the brush overnight and then wash it out. Now that the wash is dried, we can go back in and add some more to this model. I'm going to be using a smaller brush here, so I went to the second smallest, which is a size 5, and then I'm going to be adding this pale gold. But you could just mix some silver and gold together to highlight gold. Don't forget to use the dampening brush. When adding highlights to a dry brushing area, you still want to keep some of the previous areas showing, so we're just going for the most prominent and raised areas. What I really like about this set is the variety in sizes of the brushes. The big brushes are great for getting those base layers down, and the smaller brushes are excellent for highlights or covering smaller areas, so you can be a lot more neater and precise. As I said before, these brushes are smooth, but they also have some spring to them. So after this off camera, I went ahead and used some more paint, so this was all dry brushed. A really quick way to paint your models is just to dry brush an area and then add a wash afterwards. But you could always be a bit more advanced and go back in and add some highlights with the smaller dry brushes. Which leads me on to the last part I wanted to demonstrate is the smallest brush, the size 3, so this is tiny. So small dry brushes are something I rarely see, and I'm using this Evil Sun's red, so this is very bright red, and I'm just going to be picking out some areas. So you can be super precise with this brush and just hit the top of a model. So you can create some gradient changes and highlights with this. I had a lot of fun doing this because usually when I use bigger dry brushes I accidentally cover too much of one area, but this one I can be super precise with. Lastly, I wanted to cover stippling, so I'm using this very light blue grey. Stippling is similar to dry brushing, but we are more precise with the amount of paint we use and the areas we cover. So we add these dots. This can be used to create textures, such as on leather and cloth, but it can also help to build up the illusion of volume. You can make a very flat area look more 3D. So this smaller brush is really great for that stippling as well. So overall, I'm super impressed by this set for the price and the range of brushes you get and the quality. Definitely a step up from the makeup brushes I've been using. So I would highly recommend these brushes if you're looking to upgrade your dry brushing game, but on a budget. And here's the model I painted in a few hours with dry brushing and a few washes. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to enjoy your hobbies for yourself, respect that people enjoy them in their own ways, and at the end of the day, they're just war dollies. I'll see you in the next one.